What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Lakers Outsiders podcast. Man, this is it's been a while. I feel like I'm gonna have to shake off the rust, but we're back after a long absence. We are back. The Lakers are back. Some preseason action underway. We're a couple of games in now. Gary Kester here with you as always, joined today by my usual partners in crime, Hani Amadian and Jacob Rude. Fellas, how you doing?
It is a lot better now that I don't have to watch that terrible Laker performance tonight.
Spoiler alert if you haven't watched the game. Thanks a lot.
I don't know why you would be listening to a podcast about the game after the game, but go on.
Please, if there are any of you that actually feel compelled to watch a preseason game on replay, especially this preseason game, please never talk to me because
this is going to be a tough podcast if Hani doesn't want me to talk to him.
Actually, yeah, I'm going to agree with Hani. If you're listening to this and haven't watched tonight's game, just don't. Just take our word for it. Just don't.
That's a level of fandom that I'm just uncomfortable with. Like, you're just way too committed for me.
You guys are just soft, man. No, but the Lakers got crushed tonight in their third preseason game. Second loss in a row to the Denver Nuggets. Yeah, a lot to talk about with the Lakers' early preseason games. They got 3 more to go before the games start to count. Let's talk about our takeaways in these first 3 preseason games. It feels like we've really blown through these first 3 games really, really quickly. Some teams, I know a couple of teams made their preseason debut today, and the Lakers have already played their 3rd game. So they're moving right along here. But, Hani, I'll throw it to you first. I mean, what have been some of your takeaways watching this team through 3 very unorganized, very sloppy games?
I think the biggest thing and maybe the biggest change so far has been just like the pace that they're playing at. I think I saw somewhere that they're basically playing at the fastest pace in NBA history, which obviously is just a couple preseason games, so it doesn't necessarily have to hold for the whole year, but it's still like legitimately amazing how fast these guys are going. And it's not always a good thing. Like, I think a lot of times we associate pace with it being a good thing. We like teams that run around and just shoot the ball at every instant. And like, that's a good thought when they can actually hit shots. But the Lakers sort of can't. Hi, Anthony.
And as per usual, Anthony Irwin is now joining us. Anthony, what's going on?
Usual? This is an unusual thing.
It is very usual for you to join mid-podcast.
Always how it works.
Hi, guys.
What's going on?
Oh, just getting ready to spank your stupid Diamondbacks.
Okay. We'll see. We'll see. I'm just going to enjoy this win, man.
What are you guys talking about?
The Diamondbacks. No, we're talking about some terrible preseason basketball. You want to join us?
Oh, it's a tradition unlike any other at this point, right? I was thinking about this as I was coming back up the stairs with the beer that I went down and grabbed. We have never done this show with decent basketball. Since we accidentally hit record that first episode, it's been terrible basketball ever since.
I mean, it's only fitting, right? We started as Team Tank, so
I plan on being absolutely insufferable once we actually become good because I had to sit through this shitty era of Lakers basketball.
I plan on never doing a podcast once we're good just because I want to keep this low expectation thing going for a while.
I'm already insufferable. Like, I don't know if it gets worse.
We're going to, 15 years after Lonzo and everybody retires, we're going to be old men and come back on here starting up a podcast again.
Yeah. It's time to tank again for some new ball. Like, Lonzo Ball's kid is going to be who the Lakers are going to be tanking for, and we'll bring back Team Tank.
And Lonzo Ball's kid is going to be just like LeVar Ball, because Lonzo will be like the quiet dad, but his kid will be just like LeVar. He'll skip a generation.
I am here for it.
He won't even be good. He's just going to speak his NBA career into existence.
Oh, all right. Well, we kicked this thing off with Hani talking about how fast the team is playing, and why that's. I mean, it's kind of good and it's bad at the same time. Anthony, I'll let you chime in. I mean, it looks like they're playing too fast for their own good at this point.
So this is one thing that Harrison and I just talked about for tomorrow. Tomorrow's Locked On Lakers episode is that it's one thing when they play this way when Lonzo Ball is healthy and when Lonzo Ball is out there, because he is capable of pushing that pace. He's really good of not taking the extra dribble and then forcing a kick up pass to whoever he has to at that point. Ennis is not that, right? Ennis always takes that extra dribble and always is a second late in this transition, and that forces whoever gets the ball there, because they think they have to push the pace, into a decision that rarely turns out well. So does that put too much of a burden on Lonzo Ball on the day-to-day basis? Maybe. I would probably argue yes for a rookie, given what we know about rookies. But in terms of the pace that the Lakers are playing, I look, they're going to suck anyways. You may as well play as fast as you can possibly play.
You want to be an exciting brand of suck.
Yeah, exactly. They're gonna be terrible. Like our shows in the beginning, they were terrible, but I had fun recording them. So
Lamar Odom did an interview on Complex, and he said the Lakers are gonna suck, but they're gonna be a good suck, and that's all I want.
Should I make a Khloe Kardashian joke, or should we just let this slide?
But I do think our slogan this year can be a good suck.
Also the slogan for my life.
We are getting the explicit label on iTunes for this podcast.
Team Tank After Dark.
Yes. I don't know what you expected it to be like after that terrible preseason game, but this is what you're getting tonight.
What else were we supposed to do but drink? People expect.
Yeah, but there's definitely a difference between, playing fast and – because there's been so many times where guys are taking shots when they don't have any rebounders. Like they're shooting the ball with 4 defenders standing under the basket and nobody else is back with them because they pushed it up. And it's like they feel obligated to shoot quickly just so they can play fast. And so the big adjustment for them is going to be understanding that, hey, there's nothing here. We need to pull this out and run something, which, of course, having a half-court offense will probably help because the Lakers don't really have one at the moment. But,
they do. They have Kyle Kuzma.
I think there's, when there needs to be, a difference, I guess, where, when we push the ball up like that, it doesn't necessarily have to result, immediately in a shot. Even just pushing the ball that quickly results in mismatches and cross matches in transition and things like that, where if you don't have a shot right away or if you can't get to the rim, pull it out and let's figure out where the mismatch is or figure out a quick little series to run. And I think that's kind of where the issues are coming up right now, because Lonzo's really good at seeing the hit-ahead pass, but the rest of the guys aren't, and then they get themselves into positions where they throw up a forced shot where they just slowed down and found the open guy or the mismatch somewhere. It probably would have resulted at least in a better shot.
Right. Yeah, it's like I said, it's very early in preseason, and there's going to be a lot of time for them to adjust and to get kind of accumulated to playing this style of play. And I think once you'll get kind of the more I don't want to say traditional lineups. I'm not thinking of the word, but the lineups that the Lakers are going to actually use in games. I think you looked at the lineups they had out there today, and it was like, wow, none of these guys are even going to play in the regular season. So
the Lakers' best lineup by plus or minus tonight was Josh Hart, Vander Blue, Briante Weber, VJ Beacham, Steven Zimmerman.
That's G League MVP, Vander Blue.
That's 4 guys that are going to be in the G League, and Josh Hart, who probably won't get much playing time tonight. Anthony doesn't even know who half those guys are.
I definitely had to Google some names tonight. It was also fitting because is one guy named JV or is it VJ?
VJ. JV might be more apt though. So
like, given the type of basketball we were watching, he's going by JV Beecham from now on. JV Bencham, like.
Oh God.
I'm 100% sure Anthony at one point totally seriously said Beecham. I hardly know him.
No, the joke I was trying to think of is like, because I'm fat, so it's like Beecham. Oh yeah, that's the technique my parents used to make sure I didn't drown. Beecham.
God.
I wasn't sure where that sentence was going for a second.
This podcast has gotten out of hand like so many times already. We're only like 10 minutes in. No, but I mean, the style of play is definitely much different. Jacob, I mean, what's something else that's really jumped out at you though through these first 3 preseason games?
I mean, obviously the big thing is Kuzma, but we're going to talk about him. We're not kind of ignoring him, but I mean, there really hasn't been a ton of bright spots so far. I think one thing that's maybe surprised me, maybe because I had just such low expectations for him, but Tyler Ennis has actually been good this year, or at least through 3 games. I expected him to be the dumpster fire that he was basically his entire second half last year, but like he isn't Lonzo, like we said, which isn't a shock, but he's been a capable backup point guard, and I think he's kind of solidified himself. I mean, coming in, there were at least some discussions that like maybe Briante Weber would take the spot, or maybe they'd go with Clarkson, but I think Ennis has played well enough to where he's kind of solidified himself as the backup.
I still have major concerns about Ennis being like the primary backup point guard. I always kind of just take preseason with a grain of salt when guys play well, even when guys don't play well. It's just such a unorganized mess of basketball that, you know, sometimes just things get kind of misled. So he has played much better than I thought he would. I think Ennis has been better than he was a year ago. But at the same time, I'm very, very skeptical of him getting a pretty good chunk of minutes as the primary backup point guard. But we'll see. We'll see.
I think part of that too, like you kind of alluded to it, Gary, where you said he's been a lot better than I thought he would. Who the hell goes into any kind of game with Tyler, like expectations for Tyler Ennis?
See, that's why I said he'd surprise me, because I basically had like basement level expectations. So
Right.
I mean, he hasn't been a dumpster fire, so good job.
I mean, you walk in, you're like, okay, let's just hope nobody dies when Tyler Ennis has a basketball. You're like, okay, cool. We still got 5 guys on the court. Good job, Tyler. You do your thing. You know. So I look. I think I think Tyler Ennis has been decent. Like, it's hard to say that anybody outside of Kuzma has been good, given the fact that none of the Lakers games so far have been anywhere near close in moments that it mattered, right? Like the garbage time has kind of skewed it to where some of these scores are closer than they've actually been. And for the most part, the Lakers have been down by double digits for the vast majority of preseason. And so because of that, it's hard for me to point to anybody and say, like, yeah, that guy's been good outside of Kyle Kuzma, who has objectively been statistically good. And I think a lot of it with Tyler Ennis is, like we talked about, with expectations. And then you kind of and then he gets out there and he makes the occasional successful pass. And then every so often he scores, which didn't happen last year. So you kind of watch him and you're like, yeah, he's all right. When Gary, I think you were closer to the truth when you said I don't trust him. I don't trust Tyler Ennis as a backup point guard on any team that's going to be anywhere near decent.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I really thought that they were going to go and add a veteran point guard, like a third point guard. And, you know, the market was pretty dry when you're talking about minimum guys. I know, like, Darren Williams is still out there, for example, but I just really thought that they'd get somebody else in there, a veteran presence to kind of help Lonzo Ball, and somebody that you don't have to rely so heavily on Tyler Ennis. Because if you know, knock on wood, you know, hope this doesn't happen, but if Lonzo like gets hurt and misses some time, like you're expecting a lot out of Tyler Ennis, and that's just not like to me that's going to result in a long string of losses. Like if that happens, so but
I think the bummer has been Jordan Clarkson that he's still nobody expects him to be anywhere near good as a point guard, but can he be better than Tyler Ennis? He can't be better than Tyler Ennis?
I just don't know, like, this is at least the second straight summer where I just don't know what Jordan Clarkson worked on over the summer. Like, he's still the same player who has the same struggles, and he isn't becoming a better shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Honey and I have talked about this a couple times with Clarkson that, like, this is who he is. Like, he's relatively – I mean, he might be just fully capped out as the player. Like, this is just the best he's going to be. And, you know, for where the Lakers got him, you know, they had to purchase a pick in the second round, got him 46th overall. Like, that's great value for what he is. But at the same time, like, I think it's officially time to kind of stop expecting him to grow into something that he's probably just not going to. Like, this is just who he is. I don't know if he's even a sixth man on a roster. Like, he's maybe, I don't know, maybe an eighth, seventh or eighth.
My problem with thinking that way is that as soon as the Lakers gave him, what was it, $10 million plus per year?
Right.
Once
About
you give a guy
13,
10 million, once you give a guy in that kind of ballpark, you're hoping for some kind of growth. And unfortunately, it looks like the return on that investment is going to be a lot of frustration.
Right. And that was the thing at the time, is everybody thought it was a great contract. Thought they got great value for him, and it's not a terrible contract, but I also don't think it's a good one. And I haven't thought it's a good one for the last full season and now these first couple preseason games. But I mean, it's going to be I thought it would be relatively easy for them to shed that contract onto maybe like a playoff team that needs some bench scoring. But man, with the amount of teams that actually have cap space, like there's not a lot out there. And just the way Clarkson is, I think his value has gone down quite a bit. It's going to be tough to move that contract, let alone Luol Deng's. So
I still have people in my mentions asking if they can throw Clarkson in as sweetener with a Luol Deng contract.
Clarkson is like, it's perfectly clear at this point, he's not sweetening anything. Like,
sure, we'll just take $31 million on the books while we clear yours for you.
Yeah,
he's like lemon. He's not sweetening. He's making everything sour.
yeah.
Hey, would you like some sugar in your milk? Actually, all we have is lemon. Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
You know what they say, when you have lemons, you make lemonade or something.
Or you squeeze them in other people's eyes. That's usually my technique.
That's what the Lakers are. Our Lakers
Pour
are
it over the
me.
wounds that you have from watching Lakers basketball.
All right, let's talk about something positive. Let's let's not make this a completely negative podcast, but let's talk about Kyle Kuzma. Hani, I think we were all kind of surprised at how well he played in summer league, and part of me was worried, okay, this is a guy that's on kind of a hot streak in summer league, which is just basically a pickup game type of playing style. But honestly, he's been the Lakers' best player so far in these first three preseason games. I mean, do you think this is something he's going to sustain, or do you think this is still kind of a product of very unorganized basketball, and he's just kind of taking advantage of it, or do we have kind of a dilemma at the power forward position?
So I don't think it's necessarily something that's going to be sustained at this level. Like, he's not going to be shooting 75% or whatever he's shooting from three the whole year, obviously. But
it'll be 85.
95. But at the same time, like, now we have a fairly sustained sample size of him just being a good shooter. And like, this somewhat goes back to college, even though, like, yeah, he wasn't a great shooter from deep, but like, there's some numbers out there, again, very small sample size, and like from NBA range, he was a good shooter.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you saw that in summer league, you're seeing a preseason. I don't know if it's a factor of like just like disorganized basketball. I think it's just like a hot streak that's taking forever. But at the same time, like, he could still be a fairly decent shooter, and that's valuable. As far as the power forward position thing goes, I don't think he's like pushing Randle for minutes right now, because my concern with Kuzma is that outside of shooting, he really doesn't do anything else. Like, he's a solid defender relative to being a rookie, but like, I'm looking at his box score right now. He had 2 rebounds today, 0 assists, but he scored 21 points, which is awesome. But like, he's not going to be playing this many minutes during the season. And then when he does have games where he's not shooting well, what else is he going to do for the team?
Right. Jacob, I'll throw this to you first, and Anthony, you can kind of piggyback off of this. But with these preseason games and his summer league performance, do you think people are getting ahead of themselves with their expectations of Kuzma now?
Yes. I'll say first, he's up to 48% three-point shooting through the summer league and preseason. Yeah, so yeah, that's not even an exaggeration. He's hitting almost 50% of his threes. But yes, this is still – I'm still, like, cautiously optimistic, because this is still only 10 games. But it's become – I mean, I will admit it's becoming harder to kind of write this off as he won't be this good, but he showed some things tonight too. I mean, he did only have 2 rebounds and no assists, but he had a couple plays where, like, he backed down a defender, and then there was one play where he was backing down a defender, drew a double team, and threw a cross-court pass to Caruso for an open 3, and it was like, whoa, what in the world was that? And then he had a couple plays where it was some really nice footwork to get an open shot, or he drove baseline on the one play. So it's not just him making threes at this point. So I don't know. I'm somewhere in the middle of, like, he's the greatest player ever, and pump the brakes, it's only preseason. I'm somewhere right in the middle of those two.
I think instead of looking at the stats, you know, whether it's shooting percentage or points produced or assist percent, any of those things, rebounds, any of those things, I think the better way that I kind of prefer looking at him is in Summer League, he got better as Summer League went along and added things to his game as Summer League went along. And then in the first preseason game, he kind of picked up where he left off and did a lot of the same things that made him successful in Summer League. And then in the second preseason game, this was the third, right? So in the second preseason game, he started doing a little bit more in terms of taking guys off of the dribble and, you know, getting to his jumper. And tonight he did things that I didn't know he was capable of with his footwork. And the point that I'm making, albeit long-winded, is that instead of looking at the stats, I look at his actual improvement. And it's pretty impressive that a rookie can add things to his game in the matter of essentially a few weeks, right? Of actual basketball, he's improved from the time we first saw him in Vegas, when he already played really well in Vegas, to now. That's pretty impressive. And he's older. Like, there are a lot of people out there who are expecting him to continue some crazy upward trajectory. You know, if this is what he is his rookie year, what could he be in his third year? And I'm saying, well, he'll be 25 is what he'll be, you know? And so that I think is a factor that people don't necessarily take into account here. But in terms of expectations, I think it's just like any rookie or any player, the Laker fan base or any fan base, as soon as they don't have any expectations and those lack of expectations are past, people then expect that continued exceeding of expectations to continue on some straight line upward, straight trajectory upward. And in that sense, I would probably say that, you know, Laker fans should maybe pump the brakes there.
Yeah.
Right.
To piggyback off that point real quick, Joe, he's 5. I think you guys might have mentioned it. He's 5 months younger than Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's not a whole lot of room for growth that there is for someone like Randle.
And I mean, you never know. Like even older rookies, sometimes you have some guys. Like Bruce Bowen comes to mind. Danny Green kind of comes to mind, who had a jump even after, or, after their initial whatever they showed. But those guys, they weren't very good early on.
Yeah,
Right.
So it's hard to tell, with Kuzma being good, if he takes a jump. Like, just be realistic is what I'm asking. Like, he's not Michael Jordan.
He's better.
like if people are expecting him, he's shooting 40. What percent?
48%.
If he's shooting 48%, and people think he's going to improve, he's the greatest shooter in the history of professional sports. I don't think he's going to be the greatest shooter in the history of professional sports.
I joked earlier that he's going to be like prime LeBron, but with Steph Curry shooting. So, but I think that's underselling it a little bit.
A little bit.
But no, I mean, he's going to go through his rookie struggles. Like every rookie, well, 99% of rookies, I think, go through these struggles where it's like, and I can see it with Kuzma. He's going to have nights because he does take some bad shots. Mm-hmm. Like he kind of gets going a little bit and he catches and just shoots. Like he doesn't really kind of survey his options. And I mean, to his credit, he's knocking them down. Like he's shooting the ball extremely well. But there's going to be games where he does that and, he shoots 2 of 11. Like there's going to be those nights. And I don't know. With Kuzma, I think he's got kind of more of a skill set that's going to fit what the Lakers want to do next to Lonzo, especially, having someone that can help space the floor. But I feel like we kind of went through this a little bit with Nance when Nance was really good early on, and he was just better than what everybody kind of expected because it was the same thing, right? He was picked, he's a power forward. The Lakers already had Julius Randle, so we're kind of wondering, why did they pick this guy? They've already got a young power forward. And Nance was also projected to be a second-round pick, like a lot like Kuzma was. So the pick at the time, we were kind of wondering about it, like where is he going to get minutes and so on and so forth. And then they exceed expectations early on, and it's like it becomes expected. And now we see what Larry Nance Jr. has become, and he's really struggling lately. So yeah, I would be cautious, to not take your expectations and keep raising the bar. Like let's kind of give him some time. He's going to go through his ups and downs as a rookie. Maybe even as a second and third year player. We don't know. Like young players, the growth curve is usually pretty steep. But I do think he's got a skill set that's going to fit in much, much better. And he's one of Magic's guys, right? Like this is one of the guys with the new regime.
They'll stick with him. They'll make sure they get everything out of him that they can, just to show that they're right about something. It's kind of fitting that this is going on right now, but I tweeted out, it says 4 days ago, I tweeted out in jest, prove to me Kyle Kuzma isn't the greatest shooter of all time. I dare you. Somebody literally right now, 5 minutes ago, at Henry Martinez says somebody ? Now, they could be doing so in jest as well, but it happens often enough that one of the guy who hosts Locked On Fantasy Basketball, Josh Lloyd, he said something along the lines of like he's good. Kyle Kuzma is going to score 50 points on 11 shots or something crazy. and I called him a hater because that was way low on expectations. It's fun. It's especially given everything that's kind of going around with the Lakers. Like people don't necessarily want to think about it, but Russell Westbrook signed his extension, and Paul George seems kind of happy out there in OKC. And LeBron says the other day that he still anticipates retiring in Cleveland. So nobody really wants to think about it. But this plan to open up a bunch of cap space and trade away D'Angelo Russell to get that cap space might not work out really well. So what you kind of got to do is cling on to the little bright spots that you have. And Kyle Kuzma is one hell of a bright spot to cling on to.
Yeah, but
absolutely.
Just wait until cap space suits up next preseason game. We'll be fine then.
I can't wait till cap space is like, I don't know, like Chris Middleton or something.
Is cap space going to change his number next year? Is he going to go from 18 to 19?
Oh, no.
It'll go from I guess 19 to 20, 20 to 21, and it's just a good thing that this technique has worked out so well for the Lakers in recent years.
God.
Oh, all right. I mentioned before we went on that we weren't going to talk about this and a certain Nets point guard that looked fantastic yesterday in his preseason debut. But I mean,
Sean Kilpatrick really did look good yesterday.
Jeremy Lin, on the other hand, did not. That hairstyle was, oh my God. You got his mohawk, dreadlocks. I don't even know what it is. It was miserable.
It looks like somebody I'd make on like the Create a Player.
Exactly. Only he'd have like purple hair or something.
It sounds like it looked like the kind of thing you do after you take your first semester of psychology a little too serious.
Oh man, I feel like I should shut it down after that. All right, back on track here. Anthony, I mean, we haven't seen Brook Lopez play yet in a Laker uniform. What kind of difference do you think he's going to make when he finally suits up?
Well, he's the best player on the Lakers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, other than Kyle Kuzma, but he's the best player on the Lakers, and a lot of the Lakers' problems in the half court are born from lack of spacing, right? Julius Randle dribbles in and gets his third charge of the day because there's a defender standing there because Ivica Zubac hasn't left the key in 5 possessions, right? And Brook Lopez isn't going to do that. Brook Lopez is a really good 3-point shooter by not just center standards, right? But just by actual NBA player standards. He was about 35% last year.
Yeah,
so that's going to help. I think he's really going to help passing. He's obviously not going to take anybody off of the dribble, so he's not going to help alleviate some of the burden that is placed on Brandon Ingram as an isolation scorer in the starting 5. But what he will do is he'll get in the pinch post, and he'll be really good at looking over the defense and finding somebody. It's probably going to have to be Kuzma or KCP with the starters in the corner, or he'll figure out some handoff play to run with Lonzo and put Lonzo in a situation where he can have the defense moving when he gets the ball. Like, all of these things are where, and then again, just in general, it's good to have your best actual NBA player on your roster active.
Right.
He's a lot better than people really realize.
Yeah, he kind of got lost, I think, in a lot of like casual fans' minds because he played in Brooklyn and they weren't a good team. But like, he's a legitimately good NBA player. And I think there's no question that he's the best player on the Lakers this season, unless one of the young guys just takes this giant leap forward.
He's the best player the Lakers have had in 5 years. Since Kobe's Achilles snapped, he's the best player the Lakers have had.
Yeah.
Except for Kyle Kuzma, of course.
Other than Kyle Kuzma, yeah.
I do think
put in a vote for Marcelo, by the way.
Respect to the catalyst. But yeah, I do think this preseason, these 3 games have kind of proven that without a doubt, Lopez is going to be the best player because Ingram hasn't been good. Lonzo struggled. Randle has struggled, like you said. I think he may be the biggest beneficiary with Lopez being on the court, which is something we talked about all off season. But they really need Lopez, and they mainly just need somebody to stretch the floor and open up driving lanes for KCP and Ingram and even Lonzo off pick and rolls and whatnot, because Lonzo's going to love having Lopez as a pick and pop guy.
He's also going to help defensively, not just because of, he's going to be better than Zubac and he's going to be better than Nance has been as a small ball center or Randle has been as a small ball center, but when the Lakers put the ball through the basket, they're better defensively. That's just a general rule. People a lot of times think, good defense leads to good offense, but good offense really helps mediocre defenses become, or bad defenses become less bad. And because the other team has to take the ball out from under the rim. I can't tell you how many times in semi-transition just from getting either a long rebound or typical rebound tonight. Denver, who was playing without Wilson Chandler, without Gary Harris, and without Nikola Jokic, that they were just able to do whatever they wanted in semi-transition because the Lakers' defense wasn't set yet.
Right. I mean, even against their half-court defense, I mean, they got whatever they wanted. But yeah, they have such a long way to go on that end of the floor. But
hey, at least they worked on it, though.
I don't know. I almost tweeted this. What part of the defense did they work on for the past week? Because they're like allergic to the 3-point line, and they're not good at defending the rim either. Did they work on their defensive stance? I don't even know.
They worked on defensive slides, but not the location of the slides. They just know how to slide in random places.
I'm picturing the Lakers just sliding around the perimeter of the court, just doing slide drills instead of guarding people.
Oh man, Hani, who do you think is going to be the biggest beneficiary of Brook Lopez on the court?
I agree with Jacob, and I've said it for a while. I think it's Randle. Just like that spacing is going to help him out a ton, where he can actually now start taking guys off the dribble and not having a second and third body right in front of him at the rim. And then even defensively, like I think Randle has looked very much improved defensively during the preseason, but not as like a rim protector. So now not having the burden of actually protecting the rim and being able to guard kind of the quicker guys that Lopez can't guard, and funneling them to somebody that's a behemoth and can like just put a hand up and block anything. I think that's going to help him a lot on that end too.
And also in terms of rebounding, because Randle has had to go up and challenge a bunch of shots, he's out of position for rebounds, and that again helps him get out in transition.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's why I'm trying to like kind of reserve my judgment on the team in general, and especially Randle, because they're playing without their best player and a guy that's going to make the game much easier offensively for all of these guys. But I do agree. I think Randle, and then I think Lonzo will benefit greatly from that, because he had that at UCLA, right? Like he had big guys that could stretch the floor and that could shoot from the perimeter, guys like TJ Leaf. So it's going to be good for everybody. I mean, like we said, he's their best player. Like anytime you have your best player out there, that kind of helps things. I don't think it's going to help to the point where the Lakers are going to be like a playoff team or anything like that, but it's going to make the game easier for the rest of these guys. So
and us.
Yeah, and us.
Vastly more importantly, it's going to be easier for us to watch these guys play.
Yeah.
That was miserable tonight. That was one of the worst games I can remember having to watch in quite a while.
And we've been talking about relative expectations on guys like Ennis and guys like Kuzma. We had zero expectations tonight for this game, and somehow we're still smacked upside the head with a terrible basketball game.
I looked at that lineup. I was like, "Oh my God, we're gonna lose by 40," and then like we lost by like 30 or something, and it still like stunned me how bad we were. Like it was miserable.
All right. Well, Anthony, you weren't here before we went on, but we agreed we were going to end this podcast with a hot take, or a preseason hot take. So something you think will apply towards the season based on what you've seen in preseason. Jacob, I'm going to throw this to you first. Anthony, I'll have you go last, since I'll give you some time to think about it. I feel like it's going to be something to do with Ingram, but I might be wrong. Jacob, what's your preseason hot take?
So my hot take, I almost brought it up. I think by the deadline, Larry Nance will be traded. He has been somebody that was almost my takeaway from earlier, that he's been pretty concerning for me, because this has been really not even just this preseason, but dating back to last year. Like, I'm just not sure what he's gotten better at since his rookie year. Like, I think I was talking to Anthony about it during the first game, but like, there's nothing he does better now. Maybe posterize people. He does better now than he did his rookie year. Like, there's just never been any kind of growth, and it's starting to get kind of concerning, because now he's almost becoming a hindrance to the offense with his like complete unwillingness to shoot the ball and things like that. So I think whether it be as like a sweetener with Luol Deng or something like that, or just to clear room so that they can play Kuzma more, I think he'll be dealt by the deadline.
It's the Clarkson effect, right? With Larry Nance. It was the, oh, wow, this is a later pick that looks to be better than his draft position. And, you know, we kind of get ahead of ourselves a little bit and kind of expect him to become something that he hasn't really come close to becoming. And yeah, it's unfortunate. I hate talking negatively about Larry Nance. Was fortunate enough to meet him a couple years ago, and he was a really nice guy. But yeah, it's been kind of disappointing to kind of see his production plateau. Like, he just doesn't really look like a confident player, and I think that's really hurt his value. And I don't know, the Lakers seem to really like him. Magic has spoken highly of him, and you know, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, he's going to speak highly of his players." Well, not all of them. I don't feel like he speaks highly of every player, but
until he trades him, and then he'll talk about how they needed a leader and things like that.
He'll make fun of his facial hair.
Yeah. Hopefully, though, when they do trade him, they attach Zubats with him too, so they don't break up a father-son.
Well, my hot take is along those lines, but it's a different player, and I know Hani has a differing viewpoint on this, but I'm going to go first. And I don't know why. I can't, like, if you ask me why, I really can't give you an answer. It's just kind of a growing, like, gut feeling that Julius Randle will be traded by the February trade deadline. Anybody that knows me, that's known me these past couple of years knows, like, I am number one on the Julius Randle fan club. Like, he has been a guy I've liked since he played at Kentucky. And Jacob, you know that I hate Kentucky, and I've been a big fan of Randle, and I've always been a big fan of the type of player that he can become. But at the same time, he's very frustrating sometimes because his play is so up and down. But I'm still a big believer in Julius Randle. I don't think I'll ever give up on him unless he's on another team. But I just have this growing feeling that, like, he's going to be dealt by the deadline. I don't know to who, because whoever trades for him is going to have to pay him this summer. But it's just, with the Lakers trying to clear cap space, like, the thing with Randle's contract is he only makes over $4 million a year, but he has that $12.4 million cap hold, which is a provision that's part of the new CBA. And I think if they trade him, that obviously means that they can stretch Luol Deng, and I think they'd be very, very close to creating enough cap space to sign two max guys, assuming they get rid of Clarkson as well. So Randle's kind of the X factor, I think, in that whole mix on creating enough cap space to do what they want to do. And I don't know. I just feel like the more and more kind of frustrating his play might get to some people, you're going to start to hear, I think, a lot more rumblings about him getting traded before the deadline. And I hope he doesn't. Like, I really hope I'm wrong on this, but it's just kind of a gut feeling that I think he's going to be traded by the deadline. But Hani, I know you disagree.
Yeah. So my hot take.
Yes.
My hot take, blistering hot take, after we got done talking about Brook Lopez and how much he's going to help the team, I think Randle's going to be the best player on the Lakers this year. Ooh. Like, I legitimately think, and part of that is based on Brook Lopez being there. Like, I think he's going to help him that much that Randle can, like, legitimately become the kind of player that we've always wanted him to be, because he doesn't have to do too much anymore. Like, I think he's gonna benefit from the spacing from Lopez. He's going to benefit from having a legitimately great primary playmaker in Lonzo. So now Randle is like the secondary playmaker, which I think he can be great at, because once he doesn't have tunnel vision anymore and doesn't feel like he has to take everybody by himself, he might actually be able to pass every once in a while. And then he's going to be a better scorer around the rim because he doesn't have to jump around three different people trying to defend him at the rim anymore, because he's got a center that can shoot. Defensively, I already said I think he looks a lot better. Doesn't mean he's going to be great. I don't think he'll be great defensively, but he's solid enough that I think he's going to be, you know, like, relative to the Lakers' expectations on defense, he'll be like an average defender there. maybe even above average, especially like the way he can switch out on guards when he's motivated. Like he can legitimately guard faster, smaller guys. But yeah, like the only thing that kind of concerns me with this, well, not the only thing because it is a hot take. And I understand it's like a lot of people aren't going to agree. But the stuff with like Luke Walton saying they, at least for now, saying they don't want the big guys taking rebounds and dribbling it up the court and they want them to pass the point guards. That kind of concerns me with Randle a little bit because not only is he like, he's at his best in transition, especially in terms of passing to other players and making them better. But I feel like you always get the best games out of him when he can do that, and it like gives him an extra boost of motivation, and then he's like better across the board. Right. He plays better defense. He's a better scorer, etc. So yeah, that part kind of concerns me, but I'm rolling with it because that's what hot takes are for.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring that up if you didn't. I agree. I think that he's just more active and more engaged when he's able to do that. Because I trust his passing a lot more in transition than I do in the half court because he does kind of get into trouble driving into traffic sometimes. But hopefully that's where like you said, Lopez being there kind of helps clear up some space for him to attack the paint and create for guys, maybe some cutters or some shooters. To this point, I mean, he hasn't really – I'm trying to think. Like, he hasn't had a stretch five, right? Like, the closest thing he's had to a stretch five is Larry Nance Jr., and he doesn't ever want to really shoot the ball. So nobody's really kind of taking him as a threat out there. So I'll be really curious to see him with an actual stretch five, somebody that can help space the floor, and hopefully Ingram's shot comes around and Lonzo's shot comes around and so on and so forth. But I definitely want to see him out there more with Kyle Kuzma too, with Randle probably being the small ball five, because that'll create a lot of room for him as well. So, all right, the moment we've all been waiting for. Anthony Irwin has a hot take for us.
Wouldn't it be great if I said something like perfectly just reasonable?
It'd be a pretty terrible hot take, but I wouldn't be mad about it.
Wouldn't it be great if I was just like, the Lakers are going to win, like, I don't know, low 30s games and be okay?
That would be peak Anthony. When I expect the hot take, it doesn't come.
I zig when people zag. All right, so my hot take, it is going to be about Brandon Ingram. I'm nervous for him, man. Like, I don't want to be as nervous as I am about this kid, but he was awful. Historically bad by second pick standards in the first half of last year. Now, he's younger than most, and you have all those caveats that come with it. As great as Kyle Kuzma has been, he's 2 full years older than Brandon Ingram, right? Mm-hmm. So, but it's at some point, those caveats, if we go through a month of Ingram not just being bad, like it's one thing to have your shot not fall, or not be able to get to the free throw line because you haven't earned the respect of referees out there. But if he it's shocking to me how little impact he has on the game elsewhere. He's just kind of out there defensively. He's not really a rebounder despite being one of the longest guys on the court. Mm-hmm. He doesn't distribute the ball very well despite having a really good handle for his height. It's pretty much, if he's scoring, he's okay. If he isn't scoring, have somebody else out there. And if he goes through, if he has another first half of the season like he had last year, what's to stop the Lakers from including him in a trade to get rid of Ding's contract, seeing as the guys that they want to bring anyway, LeBron and Paul George, play his position? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, if this is the plan that they're rolling with, if this is actually their strategy, that they are going to tie themselves moving forward, and they have the opportunity to really stick with it, or really take a huge step in being able to be successful in this strategy, why not move a really disappointing young player who you can convince is a trade chip worth taking on Luol Deng's salary for? It would be stupid, and I wouldn't agree with it if it happens. But if I had a gun to my head and I had to say one way or the other what this guy was going to be, man, it'd be really hard for me to say this guy's going to be a good player based on the stuff that I've seen. And
it would either be me or Harrison holding the gun to your head, by the way.
Yeah, no, it would be.
You did a lot with guns to people's heads.
You know, it's I like high pressure situations. But I like I said, this is supposed to be a hot take, so I'm supposed to fly off the handle here. I want him to be good. I want him to. I got really excited in the first quarter of that last Denver game where he was attacking Wilson Chandler and he got that 1-and-1, and he was. I mean, he was still bouncing off of Chandler because Chandler is still one of the best physical specimens that the league has kind of produced. But you know, he was aggressive and he was playing fast and he was being assertive, and it kind of led to him being more assertive elsewhere on the court. But in those games where he floats around and doesn't do much, I can't help but wonder, like, man, are we going to look back on Brandon Ingram's career and say he was the guy who stopped the Lakers from getting Paul George before he went to Oklahoma City? Is he the guy who stopped the Lakers from creating cap space that they could have created by moving Luol Deng's contract? Are we going to look back on Brandon Ingram as a what if, or are we going to look back on Ingram as like, he turned out to be pretty solid, and I hope it's the latter.
Yeah, and I can't help but think about, because I agree that he's been very, very one-dimensional so far in the preseason in the 2 games that we've seen him, that it's just, I mean, he's purely a scorer, and it's been nothing else. And I can't help but think about all the expectations that Magic Johnson has put on him, specifically, like
20 points, like
publicly say, like to score 20 points a game. So, like, to me, like if I'm a young player, it's like, oh well, I need to score. I just need to score. Like I've got to score and please the guy that can trade me at any moment, or whatever. So, like, I think the public expectations, like, it's fine to have expectations for players, but it's like you have to understand, I think, to be patient, because I'm shameless plug here, but I'm actually writing on Brandon Ingram that I'll have up probably tomorrow, Friday, this weekend, somewhere in there. But if he averages 20 points a game this season, he joins a very, very short list of 20-year-olds to do so. And the jump in points per game that he would go from 9 points to 20 is, I mean, at that age would be unprecedented. I don't know why I had problems saying that, but anyways,
you drinking?
I wish I should,
yeah.
But no, I mean, like, the expectations that have been put on him by Magic Johnson are a bit crazy. Like, this kid just turned 20 a month ago, and we're already talking about him. Oh, you need to be a 20-point scorer. Like, Magic's words were, if he doesn't average 20 points a game this season, I'll be disappointed. Like, really? Like,
well, look at. All right, so I'm looking at a list of the scoring list from last year. Mm-hmm. The worst player to score at least 20 points per game last year was Jabari Parker, who took a pretty immense leap to get there. Then he got hurt, right? Yeah. Joel Embiid, when he was healthy, was one of the best rookies the league has ever seen. Goran Dragic has been one of the league's most solid point guards now for how many years? Mike Conley, Brook Lopez, Eric Bledsoe, Blake Griffin, Gordon Hayward, Devin Booker, Klay Thompson, Kyle Lowry, Carmelo Anthony, Giannis, and it keeps going up from there. And those guys are before you get to 23 points per game. Like, that's insane. And that we're talking about Brandon Ingram as a 20-point scorer after he averaged 9 last year and an inefficient 9 last year. Like, that's a little.
And he's adjusting to a completely new point guard. I mean, they're going to have, what, 3 new starters?
Yeah, and a completely new shot. Like, his 3-point shot is completely different from how he shot last year. Those kinds of changes, even if they, like, even long term, if those changes wind up being for the better, it's probably not going to show itself for another year or two.
I think it's kind of been mentioned. I think the fact he's so young is the reason that they won't give up on him this quickly. He's going to be, like, he just turned 20. Like, he's unbelievably young. So, but I'm in the same boat. I mean, there's been a lot of reasons for concern. I think the big thing Anthony said is, like, when he's not scoring, he just doesn't impact the game.
Yeah.
And somebody with his length and his kind of athleticism should be impacting the game somehow. So it's 3 games. Well, I guess only 2 games, but yeah, I'm a little worried. Not as much as Anthony, but I'm a little worried just because, I mean, there haven't been very good signs for him these first 2 games.
And again, it's very, very early and it's preseason. It's very helter-skelter type of play. So I mean, we'll see. Like I mean, if people are expecting him to, like, you know, that season opener, just bam, score 20 points, and like that's the norm, I think you're in for a rude awakening. I think he's going to have moments, but the expectation of like being that elite of a scorer already is honestly, it's ridiculous.
Well, that's the problem that's why Magic was a terrible basketball coach, because the game came so easy to Magic that he just says, wait, why can't you score 20 points a game? You know, that's why Shaq is so frustrating as an analyst. Why can't you grab 2 boards a game and have 4 buckets per quarter? Like, why can't you do these things? It was really easy for me. And you know, to which I would say to Magic, well, not everybody is 6'9" with insane dribbling skills, insane vision, and played in an era that played literally 0 defense. To which I would say to Shaq, I would say, well, not everybody is 7 foot tall, 300 pounds with the feet of not everybody is built like that, guys. And you know, like I said, Magic Johnson quit coaching during his first season because he couldn't relate to guys. That's why Kobe, I think, intelligently is staying away from the Lakers, is because he realizes, no, these guys, they don't see the game the way I do. They don't see life the way – nobody sees life the way Kobe does because he's a psychopath. But at least he recognizes that, you know. And for, you know, it's like Lee Jenkins. Wait, why can't you flip a phrase this way? Why can't you see this insane quote that somebody gave? Why can't you ask the right question every step of the way? Well, Lee, I'm not you, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, we'll see how this all plays out. I wish, like, it was insane how much pressure they were putting on Lonzo, but he at least looks equipped to deal with the pressure. I don't know if Ingram is equipped to deal with the pressure, as evidenced by the way he kind of forces himself into situations that he isn't ready to. He's kind of like Jacob in Destiny when he uses his super. He just goes full bore. Wow. Here I go, guys.
It's 100%. It's just like, all right, it's on. Let's go. I'm either dying or I'm going to kill everybody.
But yeah, so basically what you guys are saying is that the Lakers doomed him by giving him Kobe's old locker.
It was all downhill from there.
They Leroy Jenkins, poor Brandon Ingram. Leroy Jenkins.
Oh, dear God. All right. On that note, we've been going for about an hour here, so probably a good point to sign off. Got our hot takes in. Very good stuff, boys. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. We had quite a break there from doing it, but the season's back, and we'll be on here much more. One plug I'm gonna do before we sign off, besides our usual, if you like the podcast, you can subscribe to us on YouTube and on iTunes. Just find us. We're just Lakers Outsiders. You can follow us on all of our social media accounts, Twitter. You can like us on Facebook and so on and so forth. But also, we do have a Patreon link. I believe it's just patreon.com/Lakers Outsiders. We created a season preview magazine that we're very, very proud of. Very proud of the staff here that put that together. It came out incredible. I'm just so proud of the way the magazine came out. And to get that magazine, all you have to do is be a Patreon subscriber. It can be anything. It can be $1 a month. I mean, it can be any dollar amount. Anything is greatly appreciated. So like I said, patreon.com/Lakers Outsiders. If you're a subscriber there, let us know. And I mean, we'll send you the magazine because it's good. It's good stuff. You know, I'm very, very happy with how it came out. So Anthony, Hani, Jacob, thank you guys for joining me. Like I said, this was a lot of fun. looking forward to discussing some more awful preseason basketball here in the near future. So for those guys, I'm Gary Kester. This is the Lakers Outsiders signing off.
Shout out to Jay.